Paris is filled with famous restaurants, but very few have survived for over a century. Open since 1912 and once the only Parisian bistro with a Michelin star. This is Benoit. Hi guys, I'm Anya. If you're new here, this channel is about reviewing restaurants around the world, from Michelin star dining to local hidden gems. Today we're in the heart of Paris at Benoit, one of the city's most historic restaurants. This legendary French bistro has been serving traditional French cuisine for more than a century and remains one of the most iconic places to experience classic French cooking. Before coming here, I was specifically looking for a restaurant where I could experience a truly traditional bistro in Paris. After doing quite a bit of research, Benoit was the one that kept coming up as the closest match to what I was hoping to explore. Benoit was founded in 1912 by Benoit Paris and quickly became a beloved neighborhood bistro in the center of Paris. Over the following decades, it built a reputation for serving classic French cuisine in a warm and traditional setting, eventually becoming one of the city's most respected historic restaurants. For nearly a century, Benoit was in the hands of the same family before entering a new chapter in 2005 when it was acquired by Alain Ducasse, one of the most influential chefs in modern French gastronomy. Rather than transforming the restaurant into a contemporary fine dining destination, Ducasse chose to preserve its historic character while refining the food and service. The restaurant was awarded a Michelin star in 2006 and held it for many years, becoming one of the very few Parisian bistros to receive Michelin recognition. Benoit eventually lost its star in 2025, but it remains featured in a Michelin guide today and continues to stay true to the classic French cooking that made it famous. Benoit is located in the heart of Paris in the historic 4th arrondissement, one of the city's oldest and most vibrant neighborhoods. The area is surrounded by classic Parisian streets, cafes, boutiques, and some of the city's most famous landmarks. From the outside, Benoit was exactly what I imagined a Parisian bistro would be. Its corner location, traditional appearance, and long history makes it feel like a restaurant that belongs exactly where it is. Inside Benoit, you step straight into classic Paris. The dining room feels traditional and old-fashioned in the best possible way, with dark wood, mirrors, frame artwork, and white tablecloths. Rather than being redesigned to follow modern trends, the interior feels carefully preserved. One detail I particularly liked was the tableware. The plates, glassware, silverware, and even the serving dishes all felt completely in keeping with the restaurant's history and character. The restaurant is divided into several dining rooms, which gives it a slightly different feel from restaurants where everything takes place in one large space. As you move through the restaurant, each room feels slightly different, while still maintaining the same traditional character. The tables are set quite close together, and during the service, the restaurant feels busy. Every table was occupied during our visit, waiters were constantly moving around the room, and it felt exactly like the kind of classic Parisian bistro atmosphere I had hoped to experience in Paris. Benoit doesn't offer a tasting menu, which felt completely appropriate for a place like this. Instead, we were given a large frame menu that felt more like a piece of artwork than something simply designed to order from. It featured many of the classic dishes most people associate with traditional French cuisine. Prices are what you would expect from a well-known historic restaurant in central Paris. Starters generally range from around 20 to 35 euros, while most main courses fall between 35 to 60 euros, with some signature dishes costing more. We started with an amuse-bouche of Gougères, a classic French cheese puff. A very traditional start to the meal. Next came the bread. We were served both a traditional French baguette and a country-style sourdough bread. Exactly the kind of bread you hope to get in France. As always, I ended up eating more bread than I probably should have. For the meal, we decided to order a bottle of Blaison d'Isson Margaux. Produced by Chateau d'Isson in Bordeaux, it seemed like a natural choice given the style of food we were expecting. Knowing that many of the dishes on the menu were rich, traditional, and full of flavor, We wanted a wine that could stand up to them, and it turned out to be a great choice. The first dish was a duck foie gras served with toasted Parisian brioche. It was presented in thick slices alongside a small garnish and toasted brioche, creating a presentation that felt very traditional and exactly the kind of dish I expected to find at Benoit. It was absolutely delicious and packed with flavor. Next came the escargots served in their shells with garlic and fresh herbs. This was one of the dishes I was most excited to try, and they certainly didn't disappoint. They were deliciously garlicky and easily some of the best escargots I've ever tasted. Next came a cookpot of small spelt from Haute-Provence with chanterelle mushrooms and tarragon. I love chanterelles, so this was always going to be a dish I enjoyed. It turned out to be a great combination and another example of the traditional French cooking found throughout the menu. Next came the gourmet casserole of veal sweetbreads, foie gras, and truffle jus. This was probably the richest dish of the evening and one that felt very representative of Benoit's style of cooking. It was exactly the kind of dish I expected to find in a restaurant with such a strong focus on traditional French food. Before dessert, I ordered a glass of Champagne du Val-le-Roi. The champagne was served in a traditional champagne coupe rather than a modern flute. From what I later learned, this style of glass was especially popular in France during the late 1800s and early 1900s. It was one of the small details I found particularly memorable. After that, the restaurant surprised us with grapefruit sorbet for dessert. I'll admit that I'm not a fan of grapefruit, so this wasn't my favorite part of the meal. For some reason, grapefruit seems to have a special place in French cuisine. Maybe you've watched my video from Le Corail in Bora Bora where grapefruit also made an appearance. I still don't really understand the grapefruit obsession, but I thought it was really kind of the restaurant to bring it to us. Once we had finished the sorbet, the restaurant also brought us madeleines, biscuits, and chocolates. It was a very traditional touch and, again, a very generous gesture from the restaurant. The service at Benoit was excellent. The staff were professional and very attentive throughout the evening, and despite the restaurant being busy, everything ran smoothly and we were well looked after. What stood out the most to me was the generosity. The restaurant surprised us with a dessert and later brought us madeleines, biscuits, and chocolates as well. Neither had been ordered by us, and those small gestures left a lasting impression. The staff were also knowledgeable and happy to offer recommendations, including helping us choose a wine for the meal. By the end of the evening, it was clear that hospitality is a big part of the experience at Benoit, and the service played an important role in making the meal so memorable. Overall, I went to Benoit hoping to experience the classic Parisian bistro, and it didn't disappoint. It was exactly what I was looking for: traditional French cooking, a lively dining room, and a setting that felt true to the style of the restaurant. For a lot of people, a place like this might feel expensive for what it is, especially since it's not about modern techniques or elaborate presentations. But for me, that's exactly the point. You're paying for a very specific kind of experience, classic French dishes done properly, in a setting that feels unchanged in the best way, and great service throughout the evening. And in that sense, it completely delivered. It was absolutely worth it. And with that, we reached the end of today's episode. If you liked this review, don't forget to like and subscribe. There's a lot more food, travel, and other content coming soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.